Hello my fellow chatterers and book lovers and anyone else who has popped in because you're curious about what this is or you've got a bit lost. Welcome everyone, I'm Chatty, this is my channel Chatty the Mad Chatter, and I am going to be chatting away madly about what I'm hoping to read during the next 3 months of spring. So this is April, May and June-ish that I'm looking at. So I have recently wrapped up my winter reading in a 2-part video which I will link in the description box. And I have cleared out my sort of TBR seasonal shelf where I had a load of books that I was going to be sort of like thinking about and working through amongst other ones throughout those months. So now it is time for the spring season. So I am going to be doing a few things, like I have a TBR jar, I've got a few goals that I'm trying to do, like rereading certain books. I'm also very excited to talk to you about possible readathons that I always enjoy being involved in, and some buddy reads and some read-alongs, and probably talking a little bit about some of the books I'm currently reading at this moment in time. I'm very excited. I have been waiting to do this for quite a while. I want to have a look in my TBR jar and see what books it's got for me to consider reading this month. So when I set up my TBR jar, I was focusing on books that intimidate me, that I have on my shelves, and books that I'm really hyped for that I just haven't got around to reading because I'm always waiting for like that perfect reading moment. The ones I read over the winter period have been so much fun, so I can't wait to see which ones I'm going to be getting out and reading now. So here we go, here's the tin. I'm going to be pulling out 2 hyped and 2 intimidated books. So let's see what the first one is going to be. It is a hyped book, and it is A Natural History of Dragons. This is a series by Amari, and it's been sat on my shelf for, when did I start? Was it 2022 maybe? So like 4 years it's been sat on my shelf. And I haven't started it because it's starting a new series and I've only got the first book, and I feel I'm really going to love it, which means I'm going to want to buy the rest of them. So I'm very, very excited that I'm finally going to push myself to read this. I've heard so many amazing things about this series. I feel it's kind of a bit of a slow burn series where you do fall in love with the characters, and I can't wait. I've managed to not hear loads about it because I like knowing as little as possible about things. Okay, what's the next one going to be? Oh yes, good. It is an intimidating one, just to keep it mixed up, and it is World Without End. So this is the second book, and I think it's called The Kingsbridge. It's Ken Follett's series that starts off with Pillars of the Earth. So World Without End is like another couple of 100 years into a bit beyond that bit. So the cathedral have been built and been there for a while, and beyond that I don't know anything. I'm excited for this. It's a big historical epic, and actually I do really feel like I'm ready to get my teeth into that series again. So it's going to help me keep going with that series that I think I've had on hold. I can't remember when. But yeah, I'm keen to carry on reading, so that's good. I'm really excited about that. Okay, we have another intimidating one. I can't open it. Oh, there we go. Riot Baby. That's great. I've got like the biggest book, which is World Without End, and then the smallest book, which is Riot Baby. But Riot Baby has been intimidating because I feel it's going to hit me really hard. I feel it's going to be quite hard hitting. But when I read Parable of the Sower, which was the one from last time, I got on so well with it and it was amazing. So I'm hyped for Riot Baby. I think even though the stuff in it is heavy, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be good. I hope so. I hope it's going to work for me. Anyway, there's that one. So finally we need a hyped one, and I have got a hyped one, so there we go. That worked well. Didn't have to throw anyone back in. And this is The Adventures of Amira Al-Sarafi, which is really exciting because the next book in that series by Shannon Chakraborty is going to be released in, I think, June, either the end of May or the beginning of June. So having read this one, I could potentially get that one and then carry on reading. Oh, what a great list. What a great list from the TBR jar. Well done, TBR jar. This is very exciting. I'm very excited for all of them. I think that's a really good mixture of books. Okay, thanks. So one of the books I'm currently reading was actually one of the hyped books from my TBR tin from the winter season, and that is The Principle of Moments by Esme Jakimi Pearson. So this is described as Doctor Who space opera with a bit of Regency. Well, they say Jane Austen, but what they really mean is Regency. Let's be clear. So from the get-go, you get some interesting prologues, which I always find intriguing when you know you've got this kind of world building to set up and get your teeth into. And then you get to meet the protagonists like in the full swing. So we get introduced to Asher on a planet that is in a very kind of like oppressed dystopian style kind of way. Humans are the bottom of the pecking ladder. They are basically in this kind of industrial, almost slavery workforce system. And then we are in Regency London with a time traveller, Obi. It is 1812. And he arrives to enter the house of one member of the royal family. So that's quite exciting. Without trying to give too much away, there is a prophecy in here of which those two protagonists are obviously part of, that kind of the mystery starts revealing itself slowly throughout. But the characters are you very instantly kind of get an idea of who these characters are, and you start rooting for them from the get-go. I was particularly impressed with Obi's because we get given a love story with his. I often find when a character is already presented as being in love, or they've been in love in the past and they meet that person again, that it's kind of a lot of work because we didn't get to see it. We didn't get to fall in love with them in like a slow burn way. We're already thrown into it, and we have to kind of catch up with those feelings. And I never always, sometimes it can be more often a miss for me. This was beautiful. This was the tension of this reconnection, this understanding. It was done just so well. So I felt so tense coming into this meeting. I felt for both of these people. So when you have another chapter and it was just so good. It was just so good. I'm rooting and we're wanting all good things for Obi. I want all good things for Asher. It was just, yes, brilliant. And this world, Asher is in the year, so Obi's in the year 1812. Asher is in the year 6066. So a lot has changed here on Walton Farm. Mountain. Anyway, that's reference we don't need. There's a lot that's different. So there's a lot of world building set up. There's a lot of like science fiction land future to be set up. There's a sort of trying to understand this time travel aspect we've got from Obi. There's a lot going on. And I'm loving it. And obviously at some point we've got Asher and Obi crossing paths. And it's just so exciting. This action adventure, not knowing exactly how they're going to be, because it's like they don't quite have all the pieces of the puzzle. There's a lot of threat going on. You're on the edge of your seat quite a lot of the time, and just slowly seeing these characters taking hold of their own destiny. Obi's constantly been searching for almost like who he is, where he's meant to be. He's suffering from a sort of time travel illness, and Asher has always been oppressed, and she has managed to hack into things and learn the theory of certain stuff, but now she's actually getting to put it into practice. She's suddenly getting used to this idea of freedom as well, and there's themes and things being explored in this, and I'm just eating this up. I'm so excited by this book. I'm so pleased. I felt like I was going to love it, and I'm touching wood because I am just over halfway through. So yeah, I'm feeling confident that it's gonna stay the path we're on, and I'm gonna keep loving it. And the new book is the sequel to this. I think it's just a duology, which makes me feel sad because I feel like I have so much more. But if the story is wrapped up within a duology, it's wrapped up within a duology. I very much trust Esme to be telling this story. I have loved her storytelling style. She's gripped me and pulled me in. She's built up this world. She's built up these characters. I'm having a great time. Anyway, it was possibly coming out this year, but now I think it's been pushed back to the following year. So I'm not entirely sure when the next one's coming out, but I'm either way going to be ready for it when it does. But having a brilliant time with this book. This book, I thought I was going to be talking to you about currently reading it, but I ended up reading it a lot faster than I was expecting. It is a non-fiction book. It's Don't Let It Break You, Honey by Jenny Evans. A memoir about saving yourself, and it has been longlisted for the Women's Prize. I was lucky enough to be able to get this out of the library. It was one of the books on that list that I thought sounded really, really fascinating and kind of like up my street. First of all, this is absolutely bonkers. So here we have a quite clear-cut font. I'll just let you focus on it. We've got Jenny Evans' name there. We've got the title of the book, Don't Let It Break You, Honey. Well, actually, what it starts off with, which really threw me, this here says chapter 1. We've got a slightly fancier font going on. And then on the next page, it says, not Jenny Evans, but Sarah McLean and 3 Summer Storms. I wondered if this was like a novel or like a way of storytelling that she was using. No. This has a misprint in it. We get the first chapter of a totally different book, and then I'm missing 5 pages. There's 5 pages of this book that I've not read. So this book kind of almost has like three parts. But it starts off with Jenny telling you about her childhood, into adulthood, her enjoyment of acting, getting a part in a cult film, and then being kind of thrown into this more adult showbiz world where she was put in a very difficult situation that she wasn't able, that she should never have kind of been put in, and she was taken advantage of in that situation, and she was sexually assaulted. So we have her dealing with that. We have how that affected her. We then, she shares with us how she then saw the famous person who was referred into this book as the famous man, accused of rape by someone else. And that allows Jenny to look at that painful episode of her past and realise that something horrendous happened to her, and she had the strength to come forward to the police and say this happened. They were asking other people if anything, if other people to come forward, and so she makes that really difficult choice and decides to come forward about it. This is then the start of further crimes, further exploitation, further suffering that she survives and comes through, and she fights so hard. Her experiences leaked to the press with details that no one else should have known. She didn't choose to give her story to the press. She chose to not do that. And they got hold of it and printed it, which led her to study journalism, to find out how the press operates, how they were able to do that, to learn about the ethics of the press so she can recognise what was legal and not illegal, and then to go on to research it. So she started being involved in like making documentaries and doing sort of like world reporting and journalism, and then eventually kind of gets into researching and works with Nick Davis, focusing on what became known as the phone hacking scandal. So then this middle section reads almost like a thriller. Just the detailing, the research, the putting everything together, the discovering methods, talking to people. It was like a mystery. I found it really intense. I found it really fascinating. I found it really interesting. And I loved her drive and determination. And at the same time, she's dealing with how people react to survivors of sexual assault, rape, sexual abuse, and how you need to keep healing from it, how the healing process isn't straightforward, how it affects you. And there was just a lot kind of within this that the book looked at. And then more towards the end, you've kind of got her having come through the phone hacking scandal and her focusing more inward on her and how this kind of violation, once from the famous man and twice from a mixture of the press and the police, affected her, from her information being shared with people that it shouldn't have been shared with. And this is such a poignant book because we still don't have it right with survivors of sexual abuse. They are still treated abhorrently. Famous rich people are still getting away with it. We only need to look over at America at the Epstein files and all of that cover up, all of that lack of responsibility, further abuse of these women whose names have been shared when they shouldn't have been shared, and then all around the world where it's not a big news story. There's so much in this book that, again, I think we need to recognise of how people can just feel violated. I've already used that word, not quite the word I wanted, but just your trust, your belief in people, your faith in people can just break down from someone talking about something that they shouldn't, from someone not understanding. There's some wonderful moments in here of allyship, from challenging people who act like it's the survivor's fault rather than the perpetrators, that they've been somehow stupid or made the wrong choice or basically welcomed it, which is all abhorrent. I think what is also fascinating is she starts, because she's also now studying to be a lawyer, she was supported by lawyers and solicitors kind of within here at certain points, and just kind of looking at the law and how it doesn't necessarily play into the favour of those who have survived and suffered from sexual abuse, and just we still don't have it right. The justice system hasn't got it right. But what's been really interesting is how certain laws were changed and looked at depending on who was in charge of them. And there was a really fascinating point of how one person in charge of this particular area within the criminal justice system was allowing people to be prosecuted even if they were not likely to get the result they wanted, at least taking them to court. Whereas once they changed, that person left and new people came in who were male, not women, and they focused not on the survivors, people seeking justice, to at least be able to say this was wrong, you have committed a crime. The focus then turned to being, well, are we going to convict people? If we don't have a chance of convicting them, don't bring them into court. So just little things like that. It was really fascinating. And also just looking into kind of the world of journalism, what it was like at the News of the World. If you were working for the News of the World during during that time, during the 80s and 90s and noughties, and just how shitty the workplace was for people. Like, if there was, I've always worked in places where there is a strong workers' rights, there is strong union representation, there is a strong, even if it doesn't always kind of follow through, there are at least like principles put in place to value the workers, to care for the workers, to make sure everyone is treated properly. There was nothing during that time. The horrendous bullying that was happening, the really awful sexist stuff that was happening, the horrible mentality of like competitiveness and jobs that were just basically showing that you'd fallen out with that desk jockey and you were being sent to cover horrific things, and sometimes those things didn't even exist and you were just sent to a random place and there was going to be no story at the end of it. Is absolutely appalling. It was horrendous just reading about some of this stuff. But yeah, it's a really amazing story about her drive, pursuit of justice, whilst at the same time her getting a sense of healing from it, but kind of having to come to terms with, what if you don't find the truth out about your particular situation? Are you still going to be okay? And her trying to find some healing within that as well. Had a great time with this book. So now I'm going to look at what shelves I am going to be getting in my spinner wheel that I will choose books that I want to reread from and have those as possibilities. I still have a reread rollover that I've allowed to stay on my shelf because it feels really spring-like, and I can see myself being in the mood soon to pick it up. So I'm just going to try and stick to 2 books rather than 3 like I did last time. Let's spin. I can see the arrow this time, and it is going to be an upstairs shelf. Interesting. We've got a lot of fantasy books on this shelf. Okay, let's do the next one. And it is going to be, oh, looks like the same shelf. Oh no, another upstairs one. Yeah, it's the YA shelf. There's quite a lot of books. That's a really good one, actually. There's quite a lot of books on there that could be doing with a reread. Let's go and have a look. Okay, upstairs now. And this is the fantasy shelf. So we have got Her Majesty's Royal Coven series, which I've read all of, and I read them last year, so I don't really want to do a reread of those because it's been quite soon. Terry Pratchett, again, I have recently reread all 3 of those. So I've got 3 hardbacks, and I've recently read all of them. I've got Guards, Making Money and Going Postal. And then I have Jen Lyon's Chorus of Dragons series, which I do want to reread, but I know I will want to reread the whole series. That is quite a commitment when I've got a few other projects on. Behind these, let's start taking some off the shelf. So let's move this up. Ah! Oh, I'm so sorry. Poor little books. Behind these, we can see I've got Robin Hobb, and I did try and do a reread of Robin Hobb last year, and I didn't get very far. And it's not the time to reread. I need to be not necessarily it's just not time for a reread. Okay, it's a very emotional series. Even though it's a reread, there's a lot of emotion that goes into it, and I'm just not ready. Okay, guys, I'm not ready. So the Ashfire King is a new book. It's the second book to the Stardust Thief, which I am very keen to read soon. I'm hoping to buddy read this with Stacy when the moment is right. We are also, Stacy, I know at the moment, has got a huge stack of books out the library, so I'll probably talk to her about when this is going to look likely, but that does mean that the Stardust Thief could be a possibility. I was thinking that I probably wouldn't need to reread the Stardust Thief before the Ashfire King, but I'm kind of feeling it might be quite nice to do that. That is definitely an option. The Nature of Witches, I could definitely reread. It is one that always, because I'm such a seasonal reader and this book covers all 4 seasons, I do often feel like I could just pick this one up. So The Nature of Witches is a possibility. Haven't read the Foundry Side books yet. That's more Robin Hobb. Oh, and we've got some and more Robin Hobb. And then I think I've got some Fairy Loot books kind of crammed in here. The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, I do want to reread at some point. What is behind here? Oh, do not want to read that book. Okay. Right, let's go in. Okay, so Robin Hobb is not an option for rereading at the moment because it's too traumatic. The book I just hid is Brandon Sanderson's The Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England. I love Brandon Sanderson books, and I did the thing where I got the 4 new books, and they're very pretty. The only book I have read is The Frugal Wizard's Guide, and I hated it. I could not. I'm just going to cover it back up. I wasn't having a good time. So, but it's a beautiful copy of a book. At some point, I think it's going to leave my house. But at the moment, I'm still feeling slightly triggered by that book, and I haven't felt able to pick up another Brandon Sanderson. I'm hoping it's just a blip in the Sanderson books, but I'm not. I don't want to reread it. Absolutely not. Right, okay. So from this stuff, I have basically 2 options. So let's pop these books back up here. Definitely at some point. Oh no, 3, I suppose, because I've got The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. This cover is so ridiculously gorgeous. I love it. It is. He does a lot of middle grade ones. Who did this? Who did this cover illustration? I can't remember his name. Cover illustration, Carl James Mountford. That's it. And the design is by Lydia Blagden. Love it. This book is so pretty. So Korean myth fantasy, The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. Seasonal witchy fantasy, The Nature of Witches, and The Stardust Thief are my options. And I am feeling The Stardust Thief because I think rereading this is going to get me really hyped for Ashfire King. I absolutely loved The Stardust Thief when I read it, and I want to love the Ashfire King as much as possible, and I think rereading Stardust Thief will be good for that. So let's go for The Stardust Thief, and then we move along to the, I'm calling it the YA shelf because that's where all the YA books are, pretty much. But I also have got a little bit of romance here, a little bit of historical fiction, and mystery surprises behind these books. I'm not entirely sure what is there. So, reread possibilities. Heartstopper, always a wonderful time. But if I read one, I kind of want to read all of them. Unless, no, I would just read the whole thing. Solitaire and Under Rose-Tainted Skies I read recently. Epic kind of love story could be a good shout. That is by Case and Calendar, and it's a LGBT romance with disability rep. The only book here that I have not read is Radio Silence. I feel I'm just kind of like holding on to it because it's another Alice Oseman and I love her books and I haven't read it yet. Possibly. So out of these ones that I'm just staring at, Queenie's not YA, just feel I need to say that. Don't feel I'm in the mood for reading Queenie at the moment because I want to read another Candice Carty-Williams soon. Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar could definitely be a good contender because I've only read it once and I loved it. But the same for Angie Thomas's On the Come Up. Black Flamingo I have reread and love, but could easily reread it again. All of these romances, 2 by Talia Hibbert and 1 by Alexis Hall, easily could reread. Hey, as always, a reread possibility. Let's see what's behind. Okay, great. Good noises there. At the moment, I'm going to put On the Come Up by Angie Thomas and Felix Ever After by case and calendar as 2 possibilities. And let's just move this whole pile of books so we can see a terrible dusty shelf. Oh my goodness. Right, what have we got? Oh, here we go. So there's more Hayers. I have recently reread a Hayer, but a Brother Cadfael reread could be a potential. I do enjoy those and haven't read one for quite a long time. So that is a possibility. And I'm kind of leaning towards Monkshood. That's the 3rd book because I've read the first 2, A Morbid Taste for Bones and One Corpse Too Many, loads of times. So I'm kind of feeling Monkshood could be a possibility. Let's shunt you all along so we can see the other books. Pilgrimage of Harold Fry, definitely reread at some point, but not right now because it's going to make me cry. And then we have Alexander McCall Smith. I really enjoyed that series of the number 1 Ladies Detective Agency. I really enjoyed all of those, but not up for rereading them at the moment. I'd like to read more books set in Botswana, written by people from Botswana, before I reread those again. Okay, we have got a few possibilities. So at the moment, I'm feeling most drawn to On the Come Up by Angie Thomas, Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar, and Monkshood by Ellis Peters. Like I said, there's lots of possibilities, but those are the ones that I'm feeling the most in the mood for. And I think out of the YA, I'm feeling more in the mood for Felix Ever After by Case and Calendar, because Trans Girl April, obviously. And I know this was the buddy read when Kevvie originally did the readathon, and I had already read it, so didn't join in, but it would be nice to do that. So yeah, let's go for Felix Ever After. I'm feeling that's the one that is going to be the plan, and I do love these flowered edges on this paperback book. Okay, my 2 rereads of possibilities chosen. Let's start by stacking the shelves. So I definitely want my TBR jar books on the shelf. Natural History of Dragons by Marie Brennan, World Without End by Ken Follett, Riot Baby by Tonchi Onyebuchi, and The Adventures of Amina Al-Sarafi by Shannon Chakraborty. So here's all my possibilities that I somehow need to get on the shelf. I think it's quite clear we will be cutting it down. We're going to be cutting down my focus books for the season because there's no way I can get all of them on the shelf, and it's just going to get a bit crazy. But let's just add some more in just for fun. So I have got Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry by Mildred D. Taylor. This is because I have finally read The Song of the Trees, which I read for Middlegrade March, and was the first published book in the Logan family saga. And I want to reread Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry, and then continue with the Logan family saga, which has been something I've wanted to do for ages. So I'm adding Roll of Thunder to the stack. And I have just had a book come in from the library, which is Finding Albion by Zakia Sewell, Myth, Folklore and the Quest for a Hidden Britain, which is one of the long-listed Women's Prize books that I was interested in for non-fiction. So obviously I will be reading that soon because other people want to read it. So I'm going to put that on the stack. And then I think I need to tell you about my buddy reads, read-alongs, and 2 readathons that I love taking part in, even though I'm not going all out this year. So 2 readathons that I like to do during the springtime. One is in April, and it is Trans Girl April, which is a play on Hot Girl Summer, and the Spoonies Readathon, which is typically held in May. Neither of these readathons are running this year, but I've had such a good time in the past doing these readathons, and they really fit in with my own particular reading goals and like wanting to read more diversely. So I find them such kind of staples of my own reading that I continue to do them, regardless of whether or not the hosts have got the brain energy to physically be doing them themselves. last year I reached out to Kevvie from the channel Say Kevvie, and I asked, you know, is it all right if I still do the Trans Girl April Readathon? And I have these graphics. And Kevvie was really supportive and pleased that I had really enjoyed the readathon so much that I still wanted to do it. I would love to do a little bit more of a video about some trans rec. I don't know if I'm going to get around to doing it because life is lifing. If I can, I will share some recommendation videos and do a specific thing on that. If not, I might just do a short and link lots of other videos for recommending books by trans authors. And with Spoonies, I did reach out to Emily, and I have made a little bingo board out of her past prompts that she's done, because I'd still like to be kind of reading for that, and she was very happy for me to do that as well. So for Trans Girl April, one book that I want to put on my shelf for it is this book called Before We Were Trans, A New History of Gender by Kit Hayman. This kind of explores what things in the past might have looked like before we have the terminology of trans, and it also looks at non-Western cultures, and it just sounds like a fantastic kind of exploration of the history of people that came before, and before we were using this terminology of trans to describe people who don't conform to gender in the binary that we see in mainstream society and media. I've read a lot of memoirs, and I've read a lot of kind of definition kind of, it's not really the right book, sort of like, so you think you're trans kind of books, and like explaining what it's like to be trans in different ways. I haven't really looked at the history of it before, so I was really keen to pick this book up. This book was part of my book haul that I never kind of got to show you because that video just it kind of screwed up when I was editing it, and it made me really sad, and I kind of haven't gone back to it because I haven't upgraded my tech. I still do everything on my phone and I've just learnt some tricks to stop it screwing up when I edit again. But my response to the ridiculous law that was passed last year in 2025 about sex being the definition of gender rather than them being two different things, was to go out and buy a load of trans books from LGBTQ plus charity. And this was one of them, and this was the one that I've kind of been holding on to specifically to read in Trans Girl April. And the book that I have bought, because I wanted to get another book for Spoonies, and the one that had been kind of calling to me is the Luis Ortega Survival Club by Sonia Rees. Sonia Rees is best known for The Lesbian Guide to Catholic School, which has been on my radar. It's been on my wish list, and I still haven't read yet. But I have now got it under my bed because I bought them both at the same time. But this one has got a protagonist who is autistic. I haven't read a huge amount of books with neurodiverse protagonists, so I definitely wanted to read more, and I thought this story sounded brilliant. It's got a lot of an eclectic group of girls coming together to stand up against a bully is kind of where this is going. If you do want to know more, like all the books, I put their story graph links in the description. Do check trigger warnings for this one, because there might be some things that are unsettling. And yeah, story graph is very good for doing trigger warnings, and it can give you a bit more detail, but I like going into my books knowing as little as possible, so I don't want to give away too much. So yeah, so these are my choice books for readathons. I obviously want to be reading more, but these are like the main ones that I'm most hyped for and most excited about from my own personal library. I have already spoken about 3 books that are going to be going onto my seasonal shelf for the Middlegrade Madness Challenge. If you want to, I'll put a link in the description box for that video should you wish to see my Middlegrade Madness Challenge in a bit more detail and when I pick these books out. And the first one I now have my hands on, and I have already started reading, is A Box Full of Murder by Janice Hallett, which is a middle grade mystery book. So yes, my mum visited recently. We had a change of plan. I was supposed to be going to see her, but she came to us and she brought this with her. So excellent. I have finally got my hands on it. The next one is Skandar and the Phantom Rider by A.F. Stedman, which is the second book in the Skandar fantasy series. And I'm borrowing this from my Mad March Hare. And he will be thrilled because he can't understand why I haven't picked it up already. So we've actually, this is a book that I am doing a read along for and buddy reading with a few people on my Discord Middlegrade Mad Chat. And we're currently waiting for poor Stacy to track down her elusive library copy of a book, because currently someone has run off with it and not returned it. Which is pretty terrible. So at some point we're going to be buddy reading this one. We will see how that goes. The other book that I don't have, because it's still in my library, I need to go and get it, is Aya and the Star Chaser. But that will be joining, I'll be getting that out shortly. And the final book is a long anticipated book. And I've recently watched a video that Tiffany from the channel Towering TBR did about this book, and it has got me so excited. And that is Amari and the Metalwork Menace, which is the fourth Amari book by B.B. Alston, which is a middle grade fantasy. We are going to be buddy reading this on Middle Grade Mad Chat. Again, just checking in with everyone, making sure everyone's got all their copies ready to go, and then we can start. But this is so cool. I have the UK cover. We have the sparkly foil of the Amari and the book title. We have purple end pages with stars and kind of powery lightning strikes. And then we have this cowled figure with a robotic metalworky face that looks a bit skull-like. So highly intriguing. Oh, and we have some sparkly, on the UK covers, they have these like sparkly star effects. And then we have Amari and the title kind of printed onto the hardback. And this is a nice magenta fuchsia pink, just in case you wanted to know. So I'm really excited to pick this one up. Tiffany has whetted my appetite even more than I thought possible. I will link her video in the description box as well, so you can go and watch it and see if Amari is possibly going to be the series for you. So this is definitely going to be read at some point. Right, that is all the books. Let me now downsize and see what I can fit on my shelf. Okay, what book is the most important book for me to put on the shelf? Okay, at the moment, out of Evelina by Frances Burney and The History of England and Other Writings by Jane Austen, I am feeling more inclined to The History of England by Jane Austen. So I am going to put Evelina down for another day, just because it just feels a lot heavier and weightier. And I already feel that I'm going to be I've got a couple of non-fiction I want to read, and I've got World Without End, which also is feeling a bit heavy and weighty. So there we go. I definitely want to keep the Giver Quartet on here, because I do want to finish out that quartet, and I want to do it soon so I don't forget them. Same with the Map Makers. I know I've got a lot of middle grade that I want to read, but I want to keep going with that series so I don't forget it. My library book, Finding Albion, is a definite that needs to stay. Let's put my reread books up here. So we have the Stardust Thief, Felix Ever After, and my rollover book, which is Sweet Bean Paste, which I am still in the mood to read. I would love to also put Ashfire King on here, just because it would look nice to stand next to the Stardust Thief. Not sure if I can make it happen, I will see. Although I do have my nice little handy dandy basket, so let's see if I can put some paperbacks in this. Right, the Luis Ortega Survival Club. I'm going to put that at the back because that is going to be more for May. Before We Were Trans. Skandar and the Phantom Rider. And we can put
The Natural History of Dragons and the Mahusive World Without End in here as well. Sweet Bean Paste and Felix Ever After. And I think I can get a box full of murder in there at the front, because as I said, I'm currently reading it, so if it's at the front, it's nice and handy. And I'm not happy with it in the middle, so let's shunt it along. Just rearranging the order now so it looks more pleasing. I'm enjoying that a lot more. And also, look at the spine of the Map Makers with its lovely sunset colours. And then we have a similar cover from Amari. So if we put that in there. Yay, look how pretty that looks. And I enjoy it being next to the purple of the Stardust Thief as well. Okay, I have 5 more. Oh no, I've got another. I forgot Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. She was hiding behind me. Can she fit in here? Let's have a look if she fits in the box, because that would be nice. Yes, she does. She's a nice slimline book, so we can pop her in there. Thanks, Carrie. Let's get you in there. There we go. And I've just popped her behind Felix and a box full of murder, because I feel like I'm going to read them first before then, but it doesn't really matter. The Little Prince can slot in here. There we go. Okay, so books left. I'm feeling The Sun and the Void. It's not its time, just because I already have the Stardust Thief that I want to reread and Ashfire King up here for a fantasy, along with The Adventures of Amina al-Sharafi. So I think that's 2 sort of fantasy books that are going to suck me in without starting another one. So I think that can just chill on the shelf for another time. I have got Lost Souls Meet Under a Full Moon, which will look fabulous with its neon spine next to Finding Albion. We have the lovely Kiki's Delivery Service. And we have the next book in the Thursday Murder Club, The Man Who Died Twice. Right. Well, if I put Thursday Murder Club in there, that's it all gone. So it's a choice of, do I put the Thursday Murder Club in there? Or do I put Lost Souls Meet Under a Full Moon and Kiki's Delivery Service? Decisions. And I went for Kiki's Delivery Service and Lost Souls Meet Under a Full Moon, which means I'm going to put The Man Who Died Twice back on a shelf downstairs. I may end up picking it up. I may end up picking other ones. We will see how it all goes. But for now, I'm definitely feeling more in the mood for Kiki's Delivery Service and Lost Souls Meet Under a Full Moon. I think because I've just started a box full of murder, that's like my mystery, my mystery itch scratched. And I do really want to get to Mizuki Tsuchimura's other book, and I do want to pick up Kiki's Delivery Service. So there we go. This is my spring shelf. I'm so happy. This box is so helpful. Just cunningly, that could have gone better. Take 2 after I shoved the falling out books back in. Cunningly being able to fit a lot more books on this shelf. And I can just pull it out and see what my options are. And that just works rather beautifully there. And it won't easily slide back in unless I have 2 hands, because it needs jiggling. There we go. This is where having a camera stand would be nice. But there's my shelf. Yay! That was highly satisfying. I got a lot of more books on there than I thought I was going to. I literally thought I was going to have to really like half all the books I was planning. And I did enjoy this idea of just choosing everything and then slimming it down to kind of pinpoint my mood a little bit more. And I don't have to just restrict myself to that shelf. It's just, that's more to kind of remind me of the things I want to get to over the next few months. I can just randomly pick other books off as I decide, but I just like having a shelf for possibilities. And I definitely got this idea of, I liked the slimming down your TBR, because I watched a video from Candy at the Great Literary Rabbit Hole, and I really enjoyed her looking at her TBR, talking about how having a large TBR makes you sometimes a little bit stressed and on edge, and just slimming it down, going, what am I going to read at the moment? So thank you, Candy, for the idea. Was gonna try and do it before I went on my big Booktube break, but I'm using it now, so thank you. Okay, I think that is everything I wanted to chat about. Thank you for joining in the ride. I know my videos are always very, very long, so I do appreciate people sticking around for the end. I get it if you don't, not that you'll hear this, but I don't know any other way of doing it. This is just how I roll, so there we go. Do let me know what your reading plans are, if you have plans, or you know what you're currently in the mood for and what you're currently reading. Have you got any bookish things you're looking forward to doing over the spring months? You know I love a chat, so do get chatting in the comments if you want to. If not, if you want to give the video a little like, that's always very nice. If you like the vibe, why not subscribe? And if you can't think of anything to say, then please leave a spring flower, because 'tis spring and the sun is shining. Hooray! Happy reading, everyone.